Call this meeting to order. We're going to call the regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, June 14th to order. Please, if you would, silence your cell phone. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGurk. Here. Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Colodi.
Present.
Commissioner Sacks.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to begin, as always, with an invocation followed by the pledge. If you'd like to join me in standing for those two items, Police Department Chaplain Tom Prusnell will give the invocation.
Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for the blessings you give us every day, Lord. We get to live in this wonderful community and get to call this home where people actually come for vacation, Lord. We just know how blessed we are. Father, I ask for your hedge of protection around these commissioners and the city officials, Lord. The attacks of the evil one are imminent. Protect them from the fiery darts, Lord. And I also ask that you would grant them the wisdom and patience and discernment to carry out their duties, and all these folks here that have been elected and appointed, that they can do their duties. And mostly I ask that whatever they do, they accomplish, they do for your glory. As I close this prayer in the tradition of my faith, I invite you all to do the same. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I've got one thing on the agenda, but before I go to that, Kala, do you have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir. One change. I'm going to move item 5A. That's the Saxon Drive speed limits to be under presentations.
Okay, that was the same item I was going to mention. So, yeah, 5A, we're going to move to 7A, if the commission's okay with that. And then I'm going to speak to that a little bit later. I would like to see us, I'll talk about it in my mayor report, but I'd like to see us develop a procedure for how we go through that. But I definitely want to keep public participation kind of limited to what it has traditionally been, which is the someone comes and has their chance to speak to the commission for 3 minutes. So, but we'll talk about that more later. So with that, we're going to move 5A to 7A. We have no announcements, presentations, or recognitions. We do have a special guest. Y'all may see him down here. Flat Stanley is right here at my podium. I'll tell that story later. It's related to the a school that's on the agenda, but one of the children there made that. So he's traveling around the city and he's been with the police department, and now he's in City Hall tonight. So, all right, next item up, public participation. This is your chance to address the commission. You will be given 3 minutes. You can pull that. We're going to do that later. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak to the commission. I ask you to direct your comments to us, not to the audience. And with that, we'll open it up. Tony.
Good evening, everybody. Venetian Bay is a large planned unit development in the city. It's subject to a master development agreement between the developer and the city. The residents of Venetian Bay are not a party to this agreement, so they look to city officials to properly enforce the agreement. The benefit of people buying into a planned unit development is to be aware of what is for the vacant parcels. Change in the plan may understandably be closely reviewed by the residents, since it may impact them directly and it changes what they bought into. At the May 2nd meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board, the board heard an application for site plan approval for the vacant commercial property on Lunabella Street across from the building with Happy Deli and other businesses and Cross Creek Community Church. The city staff had recommended approval of this site plan, and after board discussion, the item was continued. At the meeting on June 6th, the city staff announced that it had approved a settlement agreement related to this item. The settlement agreement was not in the agenda packet, and after the meeting, I learned that the agreement was signed by city staff on May 26th, nearly a week before the packet went out for the meeting. At the June 6th P&Z meeting, during the public input time for this matter, 20 persons voiced their strong objections to this site plan. I'm told that 10 of the speakers were residents from Fountains East, which will be directly affected by the proposal. After board discussion, the Planning and Zoning Board rejected this site plan application. Now we're being told that the developer is appealing the Planning and Zoning Board's finding. I'm not aware of any offer from the developer to invite residents' input regarding the site plan, which includes a change in the designation of property currently designated for conservation. A number of Venetian Bay residents will be carefully following the Commission's deliberations when this matter comes to your agenda, and we're hopeful that resident concerns will be heard and received with the same open mind that was given at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Any others for public participation? Come right ahead. All right. Seeing none, we will close public participation. And we will move to, oh, sorry, we have another one for public. Come right ahead. Right under the wire. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening.
course.
All of you. I'd like to speak to the issue of the speed limit on Saxon Drive. My family and I were the first new residents on that stretch between Publix and 7th Street on Saxon. And for the past 3 years that we've lived there, we've witnessed plenty of cars going over the speed limit. And noticeably, it was dangerous to not only our family, but everyone. People that walk along the bike trail, the sidewalks. The sidewalks weren't completely finished yet until construction was completed. Crosswalk was down at 8th Street, so I could not even allow my grandchildren to cross the street to the bus stop down 7th. So with that being said, I appealed to the city police department and the county police department to better monitor and for the adherence of the speed limit on Saxon. I would really like to see it reduced because even with some added signs here and there, it still is a problem. And another thing I want to note is some of the residents beachside are angry with us because we're new residents there, because we destroyed their wetlands, so to speak. And they are insistent this is a cut through, get over it. They threatened to block our driveways. They've implied other threats on social media. And I just feel like safety above all. And I want to also mention that one of my grandsons woke up one morning when we first moved and he said, I had a terrible nightmare. I saw a woman on a bike get hit by a car on Saxon, and she was killed. And I had to take that seriously from a child that has a fear. You know, he sees the fear of what's going on Saxon. So we try to teach them about safety. We try to be safe with our children, ourselves, or cars, you know, us pulling out and allowing enough time to get out of their driveway safely. And sometimes it's nearly impossible when you have cars going 40, 50 miles per hour down the road. So please consider lowering the speed limit. I would suggest lowering it to 25 there, especially where you got houses on both sides and the sidewalk and the bike path so close. So I thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thank you.
With that slight delay, Randy worked up the nerve.
Finally. Good evening, Commission. I just would like to add something to what Tony said, and I think it's relevant to the previous meeting where we had a large issue around the parking lot on A1A, and there was a ruling on the planning and zoning that was different than the staff's recommendation. And I would hope in the future, in relation to this issue and others, that the chair of the P&Z on those situations could be present when you all discuss that, because they know the arguments, they know the discussion, and I think it would be important for them to be here to assist you and also to assist them and to understand some of the perhaps limitations or ramifications of why you have to make the decisions you do. So I think there'll probably be more of these where P&Z will hear the public and perhaps disagree with staff, but I would really urge us to have that chair or a representative to be here during the commission meeting to help facilitate a better outcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My
Good
name
evening.
is Martha Skinner, and I'm from Seawoods. And I take Saxon all the time. And I got to tell you, trying to make a right turn,
Martha, talking to that
I'm
mic
sorry.
if you would so they can hear you.
I'm not used to this.
That's okay.
Trying to make a right turn onto Saxon is sometimes impossible because the cars go by 40, 45 miles an hour. My other concern is as I drive down Saxon, I see kids trying to cross, they can't get across, big kids on bikes, little kids on bikes with their parents, people walking dogs, and lots of times they're running across to try to get through from the traffic. And I think that we're looking at an accident in the making if we don't lower the speed limit.
Okay, thank you.
Hi,
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
I'm Maureen Connors. I also live in Seawoods. I don't think we should lower the speed limit. I think we should enforce the speed limit. I also think if we lower the speed limit, there are other streets parallel to Saxon, like Doors Drive, that has a speed limit right now of 30. So what are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to accomplish driving the traffic into other areas, going through other neighborhoods? I'm not sure they're going to like that. And I appreciate that we have new people here, and I think it's dreadful that you have been attacked on social media. But we're rather new to the area too, in that we've only been here 10 years going up and down Saxon. What I think is a bigger issue, and I don't know if we've done any studies, I don't know if we know that people go 50 miles an hour or what percentage of the population goes above the speed limit. It would be wonderful if we had some kind of detailed analysis. But what really would help is if we analyzed what's going to happen at Saxon and 3rd Avenue, because I never go 35. I'm always the idiot behind the dump truck or the delivery truck or the unending line of golf carts down Saxon. You've been behind them. And, you know, that's fine because I think it's kind of fun transportation. But I have yet to go 35 down Saxon. We have to look at what's going to happen, not with just the 25 houses in that 9-block area that are new to Saxon, but we're also going to have, 75 apartments? 120
Roughly, yeah.
apartments in that same area. Will all that traffic be going out in Saxon? How do I turn left onto 3rd Avenue? And that's my concern, and I think we need to focus on the whole entire street, not just the fact that somebody whizzes by at 50. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no others for public participation, we're going to close public participation. Thank you all for coming. Some of these things we'll, of course, address later. Consent agenda, item 6. Gentlemen, we have 32 items on the consent agenda. Staff was very ambitious on the consent. See what sticks, right? So let's come down the line. We're going to start with Commissioner Colodi. Anything you would like to pull from the consent agenda?
6AC.
6AC. Okay, hang on. Let me get to it. 6AC is pulled by Commissioner Colodi.
Comments?
If you have some quick comments, sure, go ahead.
I have quick comments on 6V. 6.
Just go ahead and make your comments. Just tell us which one you're commenting on.
Okay. 6V. We're entering into a contract to get advice and assistance in getting grants. I have no problem with the contract. Contract is a kind of a unit price contract, but there's no maximum. I've stuck with the city manager, or spoke with the city manager, who indicates he's going to discuss that and put that in there so we have a maximum amount
Not
for
to
this
exceed,
year and then
yeah.
work on it for the next budget session.
Okay,
That's my comments on that.
okay.
Collective bargaining agreement. We've worked very hard for the entire year to come to agreement. with our three basic unions, police, fire, and the general workers who are out there who are not unionized. The agreement is a 21, works out to an average of a 21% raise in payment and benefits over 3 years. What this will do, it will tend to make our employees consistent, what's paid. It will tend to attract new employees where we have a need for them, and hopefully stop some people from leaving because the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. As most of you know, I'm very conservative in the amount of monies that we spend. This is going to be expensive in our budgets, all of them. It's going to be money well spent, and we may be forced to raise the millage rate because of it. I just want everybody to be aware that we're doing what we can to keep our employees, pay our employees correctly, and yet not break the bank. But in this case, we're going to break the bank a little bit.
Okay.
The last item is 6AA, which is approval of a contract for design services on the extension of Barracuda Boulevard, where our bridge is going away. I expressed my concerns as to the cost of the contract with our manager. He managed to get them to reduce the price of the contract by, I believe, $15,000. That was great. I still objected. I pulled it from a previous agenda. He has gone back to the contractor, the engineering consultant, I should say. And lo and behold, they found another $8,000 worth of savings. So altogether, we reduced that contract by $23,000. And instead of, and we're still getting the same scope of services, we will be able to put that money into construction somewhere so we can all see it, drive on it, and enjoy it. So you just have to be very cautious when you have contracts such as this and you work with people for a long time, just to make sure that they follow good guidelines and they don't look to make a lot of money. It's not the first time I've run into this. We've saved money elsewhere.
Okay.
So good job by the staff in doing that. I'm also recommending that we have a list of consultants that we pre-approved, that whenever we have a project and we go out on this project for bid, that we solicit from 2 of our approved contracts so they know there's competition. Even though it's a professional service, it's important they know somebody's looking. So that's what I would like to see. That's my recommendation. Now, 6AC is the one I want to pull for discussion. Do you want to do that now
We're
or
gonna come
go
back
through
to
the
that.
rest of the comments?
Let's go through the rest of the, let's get these approved, and we'll come back to AC.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sacks, anything to pull?
I just, if you allow me to piggyback off Commissioner Colodi, a question for Colin, please. We had homes that were set for demolition, correct? In that hazard mitigation grant for tear down?
We have, it's not officially approved yet. We have the 17 homes, obviously, but it's still going through the process with the state and FEMA.
Okay,
So this
it'll be a while.
is only for the 6 homes and the 3 homes,
Yes,
but they're still going through the other process for the demo and rebuild.
okay.
I
So,
mean, it's taken,
It's
I
taken
think
a while.
initially when we started, we talked about 2.5 years, but I think right now it's 2.5 years. I was thinking 2.5 years for the construction. But it took us almost 7 months for FEMA to give us an official approval on the additional costs as a result of the bid.
thanks, Colin.
Okay,
That's all I have. Thank you.
all right. Anything to pull, Vice Mayor? Or a quick comment?
Comment.
Sure.
Can't remember the number off the top of my head. Is this working?
I think so. Can you all hear him?
Can you hear me?
No.
It doesn't sound like it.
There you go.
Thanks, Mayor. Related to the Golf Advisory Board, that's on the consent, I believe, tonight. I'm going to vote in favor for sunsetting it. However, I will say that we attempted to put 2 younger people on it to see if, and these 2 younger people had an interest in participating and see what they can bring to the table, so to speak. There was a conflict with the time that they met. These 2 young people worked. And apparently it was, for whatever reason, the meetings were changed and then kept back to a time that was not accommodating for them during a work week. So while I'm going to vote for this tonight, I'm just saying I'm not sure what happened there, and there may be a time in the future when I support bringing it back if we have the kind of support and interest for that board. Thank you, Mayor. That's it.
Can you see if he can come check on his mic? Oh, you already fixed it. Good. Not yet. Commissioner Hartman, anything to pull or any comments?
I have comments on D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. And it's all the same comment.
All right.
I want to commend staff and the residents who are involved in this process for all the hard work that they did in reviewing all these boards that we had out there, their purpose, their scope, and how they sat down and worked out a plan to either sunset them or and create a new board that would be more encompassing. So my hat's off to staff and those residents who participated in that effort.
Okay, thank you.
But I agree with Commissioner McGurk. I'm not crazy about the Golf Advisory Board, and we'll, that may be something for the future.
Yeah, and depending how far in the future, but I wouldn't object to that. I think let's see how well the Community Engagement and Enhancement Committee, to me, some of that may roll into that.
Yeah.
And I do agree with everything you said, though. I wasn't thrilled with how that all went down. I felt there was wasn't thrilled with how that all was handled when we tried to put some new blood on the board. So this to me is kind of disconnected from that, and there's a part of me that almost doesn't want to do it for that, but I think it is the right thing moving forward. But yeah, I hear everything you said loud and clear. So with that, after all of that, we actually only had one item pulled. Unless I missed something, we had item AC pulled. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through AF, excluding item AC?
Motion to approve those items.
Second.
City Clerk, if you call the roll on that.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Colodi, item AC.
Item AC concerns the lease of 2 parcels of land located on Canal Street and South Dixie Freeway. Many years ago, there used to be a fast food place there that was demolished, left a big mess. The commission decided to try to beautify that corner, so entered into a lease for 2 parcels there, one small one along the edge and one larger behind it. They then took, which we entered into, and on the narrower piece, the one that fronts onto Canal Street, it's planted, it looks nice. We maintain it. And that's relatively, I'm feverishly looking for the actual numbers, but that's a small percentage of the overall annual lease. Annual lease is $8,000. The remainder of the lands to be leased are located behind that and farther down along the railroad, and basically it's scrub grass right now. I see no reason why we should lease that land and take the maintenance responsibility away from the private individual who owns it when we really don't get any benefit from it. The property is also up for sale, and I know there will be a developer coming along at some point that's going to want to build there. But in the meantime, I don't think we should pay to maintain a piece of property we really don't use.
Yeah, I had questions the first time when Kyle had talked about this, but I didn't actually catch it on this agenda. But I tend to agree with you. I think. But Colin, what are your thoughts on this? What happens if we don't, I guess is my question. What would been your opinion?
I think we could get out of the lease. The question is, I cannot remember, they planted a tree, a memorial tree, as well as the plaque. I'm not sure if it's in the big one or the small one, and I think it's in the big one. However, I think what I would suggest at this point is let me do some more investigation into it and see what's the possibility of maybe eliminating the big parcels and keeping the small one. If that's possible, I could come back at the next meeting and make a recommendation for you.
Yeah, I mean, if that's an option, I think it's worth pursuing. You remember the first time you brought this up, and this is one of those. It's not the end of the world, but I think we could do a little better. So I would definitely support that if you want to do that.
Mayor, may I comment
Sure.
on that? Colin, right across the street to the north is the parking lot that very few people use. It's a real shame. I would use it if there was easier access. Is it possible, or has any thought been given to leasing that memorial plot for parking?
Well, to develop a parking plan for that area, it actually requires more different things on it. So I think one of you have asked me during the briefing is it possible to relocate this into the parking area we have across the street? I don't think we have any room there because when we purchased the property, we kind of carved out an area for the turning lane, which now DOT have put the turning lane. So the only thing we have there is the buffer. I don't think we have room to put it there, but I think, let me just look into the whole entire section and see if there is any way we could maybe modify it where we could reduce the area.
Okay. All right. Do we need a motion to bring this back, or can we is anybody okay with that? Does anybody have any objections to that? All right. So we'll just take no action tonight and bring it back on a future agenda. Does that work for you, Shay? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we have cleared the consent agenda. 31 out of 32, not bad. Good job, staff. Okay, next item up under 7, we had moved the presentation that was in public participation. And again, I'm going to come back and talk about that later. But so with that, we'll ask Leslie, I think, has a presentation for us. Ask her to just be, as we have with everyone who's come before sometimes like this, just be mindful of time. We'll give you a little extra time, but to make your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Good evening. My name is Leslie Sachs, and my address is 816 East 8th Avenue. Last month, or maybe even, I can't remember if it's the end of April, I presented a signed petition from 165 people who requested a 5-mile-per-hour reduction of Saxon Drive's speed limit. I come before you again because there recently has been an approval of a 110-vehicle parking lot on Matthews and South Atlantic site that will further burden Saxon Drive. The bulk of these vehicles, when exiting, will probably use Saxon since there is no safe way to make a left turn onto South Atlantic. Without a reduced speed limit, this will further cause safety issues to pedestrians and bicyclists who utilize the multi-use path abutting Saxon Drive. The approval of 77 townhomes will also increase traffic on Saxon Drive. Both ends of this road will have higher volumes of traffic due to these two projects. Also, there will be the Blessed Convenience Store and gas station, which is proposed on 7th Avenue at the Wells Fargo Bank location, which could burden both 7th Avenue and Saxon with even more increased traffic. Some of this speech you have heard before, but the residents' safety makes this worth repeating, and I hope you take it to heart. Other than the small area of South Atlantic Avenue towards Flagler Avenue, which I might add is supported with roundabouts, crosswalks, stop signs, and sidewalks on both sides, Saxon Drive is the only road on the beach side that has a posted 35 miles per hour speed limit and without any of these supporting safety features. In 2012, the Volusia County Traffic Study warranted the reduction of South Atlantic Avenue from 45 miles per hour down to 40 miles per hour. That reduction in speed caused only a 5-mile-an-hour difference between a busy highway like South Atlantic, which is 4 lanes with a turn lane in the middle, and Saxon Drive, which is a 2-lane local road. In my opinion, there should still be at least a 10-mile-an-hour difference between these two very different roads. I understand the lady's concern on Doris, who spoke earlier tonight about reducing the speed limit on Saxon. However, I don't see how reducing something 5 miles an hour will impact Doris Drive. All the roads in the avenues off of Saxon are 25 miles an hour, and there's no problem with increased traffic. In fact, if the speed is reduced, it might push the cars to Atlantic if someone is on a tight schedule, and then they could do 40 miles an hour. Saxon Drive is also very similar in size and length to North Peninsula. Both streets have a busy intersection at one end. Both streets have neighborhoods with lots of cutouts and driveways. However, North Peninsula has a 3-way stop in the mid-portion and also has a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. Saxon has no traffic calming or a lowered speed limit. Saxon also has an elementary school on it, and North Peninsula does not. Both roads have high numbers of pedestrian, golf cart, and bicycle usage. Sections of Saxon's multi-use path have no separation from the traffic lanes, yet Saxon is posted 10 miles an hour faster than North Peninsula. And I might add, South Peninsula is 30 miles an hour. And we're asking for 30, we're not asking for 25, even though I'd like to see that. And I travel on Saxon multiple times a week and would like to share some photos of my experiences. They depict road conditions that justify lowering the speed limit and also to correct some confusing signage near the school. The first 4 pictures show me coming upon an Amazon truck stopped in the southbound lane near 7th Avenue. There's no area or shoulder for him to pull over. There's a double yellow line. It's illegal to pass, so I'm stuck. I wait behind him. These next few photos, 4 in total, show all the vehicles that are passing me and the truck. So they're passing 2 vehicles. And with the sight line, there's no way they can see oncoming traffic. So they're in a hurry. The driver, also the Amazon driver, and I don't blame him, he was stopped there for quite a while because he was taking packages to multiple homes. Because why should he move his truck 1 front yard at a time and try to cross out into Saxon to get into his vehicle? So he was making good use of his time, but it wasn't just a stop like a mail truck or something. He was there for at least 15 minutes. And while I was behind him, I felt like a sitting duck, because when you come on from 3rd Avenue to Saxon past CVS with the curve, it's very easy to get up to 35, and then all of a sudden you don't see the Amazon truck and you slam on your brakes. So I was worried about that while I was stopped there. My 5th photo shows a car leaving from the parking lot very close to the 3rd Avenue and Saxon intersection. This car shot across the right lane only to be stuck there since no one in the left lane would let him through, and they couldn't because the light was red. And then there was a large truck. I don't know if you could see at the bottom left corner, this big wheel and a mirror. I couldn't get past him. I was going to make a right turn on Saxon, onto 3rd Avenue, and I couldn't because the vehicle was so wide and the lanes are so narrow, and I wouldn't go on the sidewalk, and plus there's those little, barricade things to stop traffic from doing that. And then my next 3 photos show the confusing signage. They're out of order. The first sign is fine. It shows it's reduced speed to 20 miles while flashing. The second photo shows the end school zone sign, so people think one of my petition signers got pulled over by the police for doing 35 because she was just past the end school zone sign. But then after the end school zone sign, there's another school entrance 20 miles an hour. I suggest to get rid of the end school zone sign, or even the 20 mile an hour sign, and just move the end school zone sign further south so that it's assumed it's 20 miles an hour in that whole area. because it causes a speed trap, ironically. And the north, I went today this afternoon because I thought, oh my God, I never checked the other side. The other side going northbound is fine. It just had the 2 signs. But southbound, it's confusing. And then my 9th through the 11th photos show me waiting to get to the intersection of 3rd and Saxon. There's a very large yellow construction truck blocking the entire lane. Again, this is not a 5-minute stop. One picture shows, I don't think you can see it here, but there's a man sitting on a forklift on the truck bed. He's in an orange shirt. So he's just going, onto Saxon behind. I can't see what he's doing because I was behind it or in front of their truck. But another picture then shows a man walking in front of the yellow truck, just crossing through all the cars, through the stopped traffic. There's also a white panel truck parked on the right side. There, no visibility, and part of that truck was also on the pedestrian path. It was like threading a needle to get to the light. I waited for about 4 light cycles. When I returned an hour later, this large yellow truck was still there. Okay, and my last photo shows another giant truck, which is tearing our roads apart. We have potholes at all the aprons, but this truck was turning sharply onto 7th Avenue, and our pavement is really bad. The end of my street has so many potholes, I have to, again, thread a needle to get on without ruining my tires. And finally, there's a video clip captured by one of the neighbors in Walter's homes that shows a guy speeding, and he didn't see the dip in the road, and all of a sudden, because of the bend, he didn't see the stopped traffic. He slams on his brake, his boat flies off his car, his trailer.
Yeah, we want to say that one again.
Right? Repeat that.
Do we have a
It's
slow
not
motion
showing.
feature?
There it is. We're lucky no one was on the path.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of people that speed on Saxon. I also previously, in my last presentation, mentioned concerns by the American Automobile Association Foundation of Traffic Safety with the 85 percentile speed table that the MUTCD uses, because it has been shown that it does not consider all the community needs, and it hinders the decision-making process in setting a safe speed limit, which would consider the actual road conditions, such as narrow lanes, no shoulders, etc. This table doesn't consider pedestrians or bicyclists or human beings. It just considers numbers and percentages. And that does not include the overall safety for this shared road with many types of vehicles and pedestrians and pets. It does not consider the multi-use path and the lack of shoulders. By reducing the speed limit, we create safety benefits and allow our city to provide more and better safety enhancements and improve overall quality of life. Will people follow the speed limit? They don't now, but people usually go 5 miles over, so that would keep it at 35 technically. I know we don't have enough officers for enforcement, we're just too large an area, but every little bit helps, and I would hope that you think so too. The National Association of City Transportation Officials state at the bottom of the page that I handed out to you in caps, speed limit reductions alone can reduce speeds and crashes. Saxon Drive is unsafe, and I hope by reducing the speed limit and increased enforcement, we can make it much safer for all who use it. Once again, I thank you for your consideration in this 5 mile per hour reduction of speed request. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have the petition here. It was handed out by last time, but we already have it if you need it also. Thanks.
We can cover that. We do. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Brief comment, please.
Sure.
Maybe we get a consensus or even a raise of hands to bring this back as an item, perhaps have staff take a look at it, and so that the public have a look at it, so we get more feedback and be fair to everyone. I don't want to just pile this on tonight, so give us a little time. And,
Yeah, so, one second on that. Counselor, have we done any speed studies here? Do you know?
The county has done in the past, so as far as I know, at least 3 studies.
Okay.
I think the last one they've done probably it's a year old.
Okay.
Option is we could do another speed study, but the 3 past speed studies have not supported reducing speed. However, as you know, the commission has them.
Yeah, okay. The schools on signs, do we place those, or are those controlled by someone else?
We actually, the county placed them because it was a county road.
No, I know.
Now it's but the
We
county
use that, not the school board, some other
Yeah,
agencies.
now it's our road, so we could do that.
Okay, and for clarity, for what it's worth, we literally have had this road for all of 14 days, right? I mean, something like that. So it's not like we've just been not doing anything as far as the city. It's been county control up until June 1st, or so. Okay, so yeah, at a minimum, I say we have the petitions. I think at a minimum, we bring this back so that the entire neighborhood, or one person that's here today, I get some emails from some others. I think bring this back as a structured agenda item at a minimum, if there's commission support for that. I'm not ready to take any action tonight. That's just me, so I'll open it up to any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts on how to handle it.
Bring it back.
Okay.
My only comment is we've adopted the traffic manual. There was a lot of consideration, a lot of pros and cons before we adopted the traffic manual. And we now have a manual in place that has a procedure for lowering speed limits. I sympathize with the residents, sympathize with Leslie, but I think we need to follow our policy in the manual that we've adopted and set forth. Otherwise, I have 2 other homeowner groups that are going to be here saying you need to reduce the speed limit. That's why we adopted the policy to begin with, is to stop all of this and to have a structured thing. That's what they did on Riverside Drive. They did the speed study, they had the engineer come out, he looked at it, took into consideration other things other than the 85 percentile, and recommended some signage and stop signs. I'd be curious as if we've done another speed study since those have been put into place to see if it actually brought the numbers down. But, I think we need to follow policy.
Yeah.
I mean, for 6 years, we've batted this around and willy-nilly put stop signs up and speed limits and things like that. So, I told Jake at the last meeting that I'm all for reducing it down to 25, but I think it needs to be through the process. We need to follow the process. I told them, that's what I'm telling my constituents is, here's the traffic manual, follow the traffic manual. If you can get the residents on the street to sign off on it, it will go through the process.
Yeah, and I guess that would be the thing that I'm kind of looking at staff to say is, how have we done that? And what are the steps that are missing how does this bump up against the traffic calming manual, I guess? Like when you take the criteria of the manual, have we checked those boxes? Do we have a speed study we can reference? Do we have petitions? I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just don't know that we've done that. And if we have, staff can tell me we've done it. We're missing these 3 items, and that's a conversation we continue with the residents versus, so that's to me what bringing it back is to say, here's where we're at on the calming manual. So I know Vice Mayor won't speak to it, so go ahead.
Well, I think the discussion started going in a direction that I generally agree with. We need to start following our manual. I don't care if we bring it back, but I want it to be made clear that I want some compelling evidence as to why we reduce the speed. We're between reducing the speed, stop signs, we're crawling around town. I gotta tell you, I have a lot of people who stop me or call me and say, please stop this. The comment, I'm sorry, ma'am, I think your first name was Doris? Me? Yes. Maureen, wow, I wasn't even close. Not even close. Sorry about that. Even the remote possibility of taking that problem and kicking it over to a more residential street or another street is very reminiscent of Magnolia, and that is a complete utter disaster. We crawl around on the streets now between artificial reducing speed between artificially reducing speed limits and then people getting tickets, which is a whole other issue, but artificially reducing the speed limits, having golf carts, electric bikes, one wheels, everything you want to name in this town that everybody loves to cruise around in, we're crawling around this town. And I hear that pushback. So, Leslie, I respect your feelings, but what I'm saying is I need compelling evidence, and this goes back to the traffic calming manual. It can't just be a matter of opinion that a neighborhood wants something. We have to be able to follow the manual, and I need compelling evidence to artificially lower the speed limit. I loved hearing about the 85th percentile. I think that was a reasonable measurement. No one talks about the streets that the 85th percentile shows should be raised. We all talk about keep reducing them. So it's not that, I'm just not inclined to at this time until I see some kind of compelling evidence that suggests that it really needs to be done. Thank you.
So back to the question for me is, so we had petitions, I heard a quote tonight, we had however many signatures. I don't know whether that falls in the manual. Like, does that meet the requirements of the manual or did it not? And I know that's one of the triggers we have along with the speed study and a lot of other things. So that to me is what I think we're missing is we're at this point in the process and here's the gaps that still need to be closed before this is considered if we're going to follow the manual.
Reducing the speed limit, it's not about a petition. Reducing the speed limit is the speed study. So if you do the speed study and the speed study shows that it needs to be reduced, then that's it. The speed study or the speed studies that were done previously, it did not support to reduce it. I don't know with changing traffic, I don't know when the last time they've done it. However, if we needed to go through that route, this is not talking about the speed, reducing speed. However, if you talk about traffic calming, other traffic calming measures, then you have to go through the manual in terms of the process, the petition and go through everything that you have to go through. But the speed reduction it's only one thing.
Gotcha.
You have to look at the speed study. So my suggestion is, I think we would do a speed study just to make it more current. I don't know if we're looking at like a specific section, Leslie, or we're looking at the entire section of Saxon.
Let's let you talk to her about that afterwards. Yeah.
So that's what I need to know. If it's a specific section, I could go in and I could do a speed study. I would put the traffic counters for a week, and we would have a better understanding of what's happening there.
Okay. All right. So my suggestion is we let staff work with the resident, complete the speed study, figure out if we're focusing on one particular area, although I don't want to see the speed limit turn into a yo-yo situation down Saxon. I do think it may be worth, and this is something I think staff can just do, it seemed like the school zone thing that may be compelling. If there's some confusion where it goes up and back down, that just, if y'all can take a look at that, if it's different on either side of the street, we probably should fix that, and let's just maybe make that go away. So that would be my suggestion on that, and let staff bring that back to us and their results. So with that, I know you had a comment, Mr. Kalot. Actually, you were next in line.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In response to you, Vice Mayor, I really perused the MUTCD that we produced, and it's a good document, but it doesn't address directly just speed and the conditions that you find on our streets. It goes by what hardware you can apply to that street, what process you need to take to get us to that position. But as you know, Vice Mayor, I was also on the CAC to the TPO, and back then we had very good discussions about the 85th percentile and the consideration of the changes to our lifestyle, that we have more bicyclists, that we have more pedestrians. This particular road, although it's not addressed in our own MUTCD, has very major constraints and issues. It has a linear park alongside the multi-use trail that goes from 18th to 27th. Of course, it has the school. It has 2 churches. It has very poor line of sight. It is a very narrow road. My pickup truck can barely fit down one of the aisles. And of course, as you know, I don't know if the speed study will bear out. We have some lunatic drivers. And the other compelling bit of evidence is it's identical to Peninsula. It's identical almost to Riverside. They really are very similar roads with inordinate speed differences. So asking for 5, I don't think is very much. I think it sends a good message because ultimately, you know what it boils down to? God forbid a pedestrian gets hit. You know, it's amazing that at 35 miles an hour, you have, and I'll, you know, when we have this item, I'll bring more statistics to share with you. But the difference in 30 to 35 miles an hour may mean you die or you're maimed. The percentage of 30 miles an hour is that much less that you end up totally maimed for the rest of your life. And that was just unbelievable. And that's by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. There's no slouches. They've done studies, and don't tell me to move to Canada, but they've done studies in Canada, in England, in Germany about speed limits. And actually adjusting the speed limits do over time benefit the community. So please, guys, bear that in mind. You know, we're not looking for speed humps or chicanes or any other things like that.
Okay, Commissioner Delory, and we'll move on from this. I plan to bring this basic issue up during my commissioner comments. I might as well make it now while we still have a full audience here. We've talked about a couple different streets. I know at least 3 or 4 where people are going to come and ask for reductions and changes. They've asked for documentation. We do have a manual we worked on for a long time. It should be followed. It really wasn't followed when we did Riverside Drive. And we now have a situation where one street in the area, residents don't like the people on the other street because they thought they got the traffic. We did studies on Magnolia. We did studies on the other 2 live oaks. All those streets. One of the things, being it's now in my zone, is I had a lot of people call me out there, and I've set up a meeting this coming Tuesday, a week from today, 5:30 to 7 in the Brandon Center. And I've invited everybody out there who lives between Edgewater, Canal Street, Riverside Drive, and Route 1 to come and express their opinions. It's a meeting I've set up. It's not a commission meeting. It's a public meeting. Come and talk. I want everybody to have an opportunity so we can come up with a neighborhood solution. Not just one street, not pushing the traffic to another one. I've taken on that. It's involved a lot of background work, all of exhibits, all of which I will turn over to the city when it's done. I won't have any particular comments on it. I do know we do have the manual, and Commissioner Hartman's right. We should follow it. There's one provision in the manual that does need to be revised. It's basically a point system as to what's important. The speed limit, the stop signs, the amount of traffic on it. But there's also a section that allows not community input, but the effect it will have on the community. And I don't think we weight that enough. You have unique situations out there on the street we're discussing right now. Not the whole street, in certain areas. It should be looked at. But we don't want the traffic all to start going down 7th. We don't want that. And just by changing the speed limit might do that. It's amazing what a little thing will do when you have people trying to get from point A to point B, and it's like water going down a ditch. It's going to take the easiest path. So we have to be careful on a lot of these studies that we do. I don't mind looking at this particular one. I don't mind looking at Cooper Street, Horton Street.
North Peninsula, any number of them. They're all going to come here sooner or later, and we got to get prepared for it, and we got to take the neighborhood approach, not just the one street. So that's my comments,
Okay,
and I won't make them again later.
I appreciate that deeply. If people followed laws, we wouldn't be here. I mean, that's the nuance we got to remember is we're here because people don't follow laws. So the notion of traffic calming versus just adjusting speed limits, traffic calming is you create an environment that enhances law-abiding behavior. We can adjust the speed limit to 5, and that doesn't mean everybody's going to start doing 10 or 15. Everybody's still going to do about what they do based on the environment they're driving through, and that's what a ton of data and studies show. So that's where we were going originally with the whole traffic calming manual was how do you calm people down that isn't just expecting different behavior because we change it down 5 miles an hour. I would contend, you mentioned it, we do have lunatic drivers. They're not going to notice the speed limit sign, oh, you know what? I'm finished with my lunatic driving ways. You know, like I don't think that changes. I think we have to make other changes to induce the behavior we're trying to make. Because if they're going 50, I just don't see that rational. Well, now they're down to 45. You know, like so that's where I think we were heading in the right direction. It's not perfect, but the traffic calming is, I think, going to be a recurring theme for the next couple of commissions up here. As this town continues to grow and evolve, I think it's going to be a recurring theme. So I look forward to that invigorating discussion coming forward. Item 8A, Ordinance 7-22. We have a second reading of public hearing. City Attorney will read this a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 0722, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, amending the future land use element to add goal 9, establishing the commercial space industry opportunity overlay, providing for public hearing, provided for conflicting ordinance, and providing an effective date.
Okay, this is an item that's kind of been trickling its way through, so we've had multiple different chances to think on this and talk through this. It's been to numerous different committees. So, Commission, any questions for Chris is here with any questions or comments on this?
Yes.
From the Commission? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chris, we're supposed to consider this overlay tonight. It's very short on specifics. The space industry is very specific, as you probably know. And they make everything from spacesuits to liquid rocket fuel, solid rocket, all the dangers that come with it. And, we look at what's allowed in certain zoning and overlays and such, and I just don't know. The original consideration was for the industrial park within the airport. And even that, after careful consideration and having studied the space industry, probably since at least 2012, when they considered taking a national park and putting launch pads there, I thought, are we doing the right thing, supporting private space industry? So I would strongly support it at the airport. But now that we're considering a few other areas where we really don't know what we're getting into, and even the scientists that are making these new fuels don't know what they're getting into. If we have young students with their gloves and their safety glasses making CubeSats, I'm all for it. But if we have a place to store ethyl methyl hydrazine, so to speak, I'm not. So without those definitions, it's very hard for me to say yes to the parcel down by the railroad track depot or yes to the parcel that's by the old barn. I'm really frightened, literally, about that. So if my colleagues are willing, can we get our feet in the door? Because I noticed even the county balked the first time. They wanted to step back and consider this for a bit because of what they might be getting into with Space Florida, who came forward once before and promised thousands of jobs. And, I like the idea. I love space, but then I see all the dangers that, are we pigeonholing ourselves for later on when I'm not sitting at the dais and I made the decision to put dangerous things in neighborhoods, how do those neighbors feel about it? I'm worried for the neighbors. So I would strongly support it if we kept it at the airport. Other than that, I have major concerns. Maybe we could bring it back and get more public input on it. Those are I want to be brief.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commission on this? So my thoughts on that, and Chris, jump in if you feel something different, but I mean, it says right here, it's the uses are consistent with applicable regulations. Like this doesn't just open the door to anything under the guise of space. All of a sudden now, in downtown heart of New Smyrna, we're manufacturing, space fuel. I mean, that's not, this doesn't just blanket open that up. This just says, if someone comes in with a viable use that's in this, the exploration and commercial trade for space, we're going to work with them. We're going to have expedited review. We're going to do our best. But if it doesn't work for the city, this isn't any kind of a blanket, no matter what, we're going to approve it. We're not committing to it. We're not binding the hands of this or from some future commission to approve it just because someone comes in with the idea. And I think that's all covered, to me, that's covered pretty clearly here. And the objective is that we shall encourage the location of targeted industries. And the policy is broad enough, and we talk about hazard protections and things like that. So, I'm comfortable with it from that guise. It's not the end. This is just the beginning. And then, I think current and future leaders will have the common sense and the public interest in mind to make sure, as opportunities come forward, that they absolutely fit within New Smyrna Beach. Did anything I say not resonate with you? Do you agree with any of that?
That hit the hammer on the head, the
Okay.
nail there, so yes,
All
sir.
right. This is a public hearing. I want to pause. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item only? We're in 722. Seeing none coming forward, we'll close the public hearing to have a motion on ordinance 722.
So moved.
Second.
No other discussion. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
No.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 722 is adopted. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
2622, second reading, public hearing to grant a non-exclusive franchise. Assistant City Attorney, sorry. Read this a second time.
Ordinance number 2622, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach granting a non-exclusive franchise to F4 Disposal Corporation to provide construction and demolition debris removal services within the City of New Smyrna Beach, outlining franchisees' duties, providing terms and conditions under which such franchise shall operate, providing for severability, providing for conflicting ordinance, and providing an effective date.
Gentlemen, we've seen 100 of these at this point. It's pretty routine. David, anything special to call out on this one? All routine. Commission, any questions or concerns of staff on this particular item? Public hearing, any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to adopt 2622?
Motion to approve ordinance 2622.
Second.
City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
2622 is adopted. 3622 is it's the first reading, but it is a public hearing. And because this is a special exception, it requires a public hearing on both the first and the second reading. So this one's a little bit unique. I just want to make sure we highlight that. So this is the first reading of public hearing, which would add the use of school as a special exception use in the B3 zoning district. With that, we'll have Assistant City Attorney. It's the first time.
Ordinance number 3622, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 5 zoning districts, Section 504.02, specific regulations by district, B3, Highway Service Business District, to add schools as a special exception use, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Public hearing, second public hearing, and second reading will be June 28th, 2022.
Thank you. Bobby, you got a report on this one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So we have Amy Michaelis and Lindsay Strasburg at 115 South Ward Street in New Smyrna Beach has requested to add school as a special exception use in the B3 Highway Service Business District. Public schools and private schools are allowed throughout many zoning districts within the city. Some zoning districts allow schools as permitted uses, while others allow it as special exception use. So I have listed each zoning district that allows schools as a permitted use or special exception use in the staff report, and only 4 of those districts allow school as a permitted use. Only the mixed-use district has a restriction of 250 students or less. So the question is, should a proposed school in the B3 Highway Business District have the same restrictions like associated with a rural or residential zoning, or should this proposed use be less restrictive like the mixed-use zoning district? Staff would conclude that the extensive setbacks and buffers listed in the rural and the residential zoning districts are in place to protect neighboring residential uses. The use of school listed in the mixed-use zoning district are less restrictive and only cap the number of students, thus allowing for a smaller school. So since most of the B3 zoning is located or adjacent to Dixie Freeway, these properties can be less in size than other commercial zoning districts around the city, but can be similar to the properties that are located in the mixed-use zoning district. Because of this condition, staff would consider a small-scale school, normally a private school, to be located in a B3 zoning district, possible limiting the number of students, just like we did for the current mixed-use zoning district. So currently, any special exception use has to meet 3 criteria in the land development regulation or section 30504. Staff would just suggest to add some following criteria. 1, any proposed outdoor play area or recreation area shall require at least a 6-foot high fence to surround the proposed play area or recreation area. 2, parking lots must meet the required landscape buffer for the B3 zoning district. 3, must meet the required parking section under section 60409. And number 4, the maximum number of students would be limited to 250. So with that, at its regular scheduled meeting on June 6, 2022, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 to give a positive recommendation to the City Commission to approve the requested text amendment to the land development regulation. After reviewing the application, the proposed addition of schools as a special exception use in the B3 zoning district meets the following objective and policies of the city's comprehensive plan under Article 14, Public Schools Facilities, Coordination Goal, Objective 2, Policy A. So staff recommends the City Commission approve the requested text amendments to the land development regulation, adding the use of school to the B3 zoning district as a special exception use. And it is a private application, and the applicants are here tonight.
Okay, Bob, quick question for you. So what we're doing today is actually for all B3 as a special exception. For the app, did I say that right, B3? You're
Yes.
looking at me like, okay.
Yes.
You gave me the look like I'd. So the applicant would then have to presume this passes just for a moment, it may not want to presume that, but if it does, the applicant would then come back through this process, the special exception process. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you know, does the current applicant that came forward, do they meet these additional staff criteria, those 4 items, the max students, the required parking? Have you all looked at that or dialogued with them yet on that?
Yes, they will meet that. We've been in discussions with them before we came up with the criteria.
They'll meet those. As you look at that map of all the other potential, the Exhibit C, lot of B3 zoning throughout the city, especially kind of that A1A corridor, US 1 corridor. How many of the other ones, just anecdotally, and I'm not going to hold you to this number, are going to be able to meet these requirements, or is that going to be a pretty high bar for some of these other locations?
I think it's going to be a pretty high bar. For one, we've got a parking requirement for number of classrooms you have. They're going to have to meet that. A lot of the parking on US 1 is inadequate already for whatever business. So some of these could be hard to meet, but if they have enough property, if they have the landscape buffer, they have the parking requirement, then we think that there's a lot of properties that probably could meet this.
Okay.
But it's probably going to be some existing developed property, not something that's being developed new.
Right. Okay. Those were my questions for staff. Any other questions from the commission for staff? Go ahead. No?
No, I have comments.
Okay.
but-
Any questions for staff? It's a public hearing. We'll hear from any members of the public that wish to comment on this. The applicants aren't here, so if we have questions for them specifically, we'll just call them up at that time. But any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, all right, we'll close the public hearing. Comments?
I did have the opportunity to visit their existing facility. It's quite an asset to our town. I would like to see them succeed and grow, which they can't do in the present location that they're in right now. One thing we do have to remember, though, and you hit on this, Mr. Mayor, is that this is not specifically for them. It's a zoning change that could affect dozens of properties. But what I do find, and I looked into it quite a bit and discussed it with staff, is that the standards that they have established will protect all other neighborhoods. So I have absolutely no trepidation about supporting this, which I will.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 3622 on first reading?
I make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion. We'll take the second from the vice mayor. I think I heard him a skosh ahead of you, Commissioner. Was it you? I'm sorry, vice mayor. He was the vice mayor for a long time. All right, we'll take the second from Commissioner Sacks. I had a motion from Commissioner Colodi. If no other discussion on this item, City Clerk, if you'd call the roll for this first reading.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
I screwed everybody up.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
For the record, there was everyone said yes, I believe, right? We got a yes. All right.
Yeah.
Just so we don't have any confusion on the voting. So, all right, one more time, and then we'll be through with that. So we'll see you all next meeting. That'll be June 28th, 2022 for the second reading. Congratulations. Ordinances, first reading. City attorney or assistant city attorney will read these ordinances a first time by title only. The second readings will be conducted on June 28th, 2022. Shay, take it away.
Ordinance number 2722.
Hang on, Shay, actually, real quick. We have there were some students that came at the last meeting and spoke. If you stop at the city clerk on your way out, you can do it now or later. She has some things that we wanted to give to the students that spoke, some cards from the city. So, all right, sorry about that, Shay, go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question on that to our staff. Can the applicant at their own risk apply for the variance or the special exception approval now to cut the
Before
time frame down?
That's a good question.
They already have.
Did you hear the question, Bob?
Can they get a head start by putting an application in now, even though the zone isn't adjusted yet, but it would be, of course, at their own risk?
Yes, so they have already applied. They've already been to the Planning and Zoning
Good.
Board, so on the next meeting on the 28th, you'll have the second reading for the item you just had, plus you'll have their special exception application to
Awesome.
review at that time.
Okay, awesome.
Good.
Thank you. Good job. All right, Shay, take it off.
Ordinance number 2722, an ordinance annexing into the city of New Smyrna Beach, .55 plus or minus acres of property located on the south side of Pioneer Trail, east of Bridget Street, address as 2340 Pioneer Trail, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within the Commission Zone 3, providing for public hearing, providing for required filing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Public hearing and second reading, June 28th, 2022. Ordinance number 2822, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .55 plus or minus acres of land located on the south side of Pioneer Trail, east of Bridget Street, address as 2340 Pioneer Trail, from Volusia County Rural to City Rural, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinance, and providing for effective date. Public hearing and second reading will be June 28th, 2022. Ordinance number 2922, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .55 plus or minus acres of the property located on the south side of Pioneer Trail, east of Bridget Street, address as 2340 Pioneer Trail, from Volusia County A2A Airport Overlay to City A2A Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Again, public hearing and second reading, June 28th, 2022. Ordinance number 30-2022, an ordinance annexing into the City of New Smyrna Beach .19 plus or minus acres of the property located on the north side of Mary Avenue between Spruce Street and Howard Avenue, address as 1404 Mary Avenue, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1. Providing for public hearing, providing for required filing, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Public hearing and second reading, June 28th, 2022. Ordinance number 3122, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .19 plus or minus acres of the land located on the south side of Mary Avenue between Spruce Street and Howard Avenue. Address as 1404 Mary Avenue from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan map to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinance, and providing an effective date. Public hearing, second public hearing in June 28th, 2022. Ordinance number 3222, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .91 acres plus or minus acres of the property located on the south side of Mary Avenue between Spruce Street and Howard Street. Address is 1404 Mary Avenue from Volusia County R4A, urban single-family residential airport overlay to city R2A, single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, providing for effective date. Second reading and public hearing, June 28th, 2022. Ordinance number 33-22, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 5 zoning districts, Section 504.02, specific regulations by districts. I-1 light industrial district, I-2 heavy industrial district, I-3 industrial park district, and I-4 waterfront industrial district by removing the noise regulations to allow for comprehensive noise regulation in the city code, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second hearing and public hearing will be June 28th, 2022. Ordinance number 3422, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the Code of Ordinance, amending Chapter 38 Environment, Article 3 Noise, and Sections 38-71 through 38-77 to provide for comprehensive and enhanced noise regulations, amending Chapter 38 Environment to establish a new Article 4 Lighting Section 38-78 through 38-80 to establish light regulations, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second hearing and public hearing will be June 28, 2022. Ordinance number 3522, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 6 Development Design and Improvement Standards, Section 604.01.B3 to clarify fill requirements on existing low lots, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second hearing and public hearing will be June 28, 2022.
Mayor,
Yeah.
I have a couple comments on that one.
Sure, go ahead.
And I apologize to Colin that I didn't bring it up the other day. In the staff report, it's not germane to the particulars of this, but it references the temporary parking lot as a one-year exemption, when in fact it's a 2-year. So that language needs to be changed to reflect what the current status is. The other is, I have some concerns about this going forward in that, is this a reaction to something that we've had issues with in the past? How's it going to affect people going forward? Because it says that you can raise your driveway, but there's no specifics as to how wide the driveway or the area on each side of the driveway. What happens if I have a sidewalk that goes from the street to the house and I can only raise it 6 inches between those two areas? Am I going to create step downs? Colin and I are working on another issue in the county area where there's a couple lots over there that are actually below street level. And everybody around them has already, because of the county, filled up to including street level or 18 inches above. And what happens if we put these restrictions and the people go to build their houses, they're only allowed to put 6 inches of fill. Where's all that stormwater going to go? Where's all that runoff going to go? We're going to create ponds around, or moats around these houses. So I just would like staff to kind of take a deeper look at this and make sure that we don't have unintended consequences going forward, and that we truly are looking at all those issues going forward. If there's existing already lots that have been raised and we have 1 or 2 in the middle, I know it created some other problems up in another area of the city, but is this truly going to fix the problem that we're faced with there, or are we going to create more problems going forward? You know, and then the issue about the width of the driveway, you know, how far can you go each side, and then maybe even a residential sidewalk. So if we just look at those before we go push forward with this, I'd appreciate it.
And if I may, Commissioner, when we're saying 6 inches of fill, typically what happens is if you have a condition on a lot like this, you will do the stem wall, and then you would fill within the stem wall. So the idea is not to fill the entire lot to bring the lot up. So you will have the structure. It's up to the elevation that it's the required elevation. But the adjacent area outside the stem wall, we would not have the 5 and 6 feet fill. We have a condition right now on the beach side, it's almost similar to this. We have a house that was built in the 60s, so it's pretty low. And not only that, but it's an uninclined roadway. And then the house right to the south of it, it has to meet the requirements. So there's quite a bit of difference in elevation. So we've been dealing with that issue for quite some time. And I think this will address that issue, not only in that area, but throughout the city, in particular the area that we mentioned out there on the Corbin Park.
Yeah, but that's my concern with those 2 residential lots on Swoop is I understand they bring their stem walls up, but then, you know, these are fairly large lots, so all the area below that are only going to be able to raise the elevation by 6 inches. So, and everybody else around them is above the road level.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's going to create a natural low area on these residential lots. So rather than specific about 6, can we look at language that says, you know, that is, you know, in congruency with the rest of the neighborhood or that residential lot next door? I think if you put a number on it, you've tied somebody's hands too much that, you know, after all that we're going through in order to get them to build their houses, I would hate for us to put restrictions on them where they can't go forward with that. So, and, you know, you've been there, so you kind of have an idea what I'm talking about.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi, I think.
Yeah, ordinance 3522. I feel it just needs clarification because it opens up a lot more questions. It says 5 feet from a driveway. It doesn't say whether that's measured horizontally, vertically. It doesn't say whether they can put a second driveway parking space in. The concept is excellent and we should go forward with it, but I think we need a little more work before we go there. And I think it might result in some changes that exceed what we're really allowed to do between first and second hearings.
Yeah, so that's leads me to, Shay, do you want to,
If the item was withdrawn by staff, then they could go back to the drawing board and start over again.
and bring it back as a first reading?
Yes.
Kyle, do you think you're going to need, my thing is timing as well. I mean, you need enough time between now and the second reading and potentially the amount of changes that may be required, so.
Probably we need to have at least
Okay.
another meeting.
All right, so let's, so staff can withdraw it?
Yes.
So Kyle, would you like to withdraw item 9I? Okay. That was an affirmative for the record. So item 9I is withdrawn by staff, so that first reading is not in effect, and it'll be brought back at a future time. 9J, I think we have.
Ordinance number 3722, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulation, amending Article 10, subdivisions, Section 1012, model homes, to revise the number of units permitted prior to plat recording and adding additional standards, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be June 28th, 2022.
Okay. Vice Mayor and I had a laugh. Do you all remember when we used to read and vote on every single one and debate every single one of those first readings? I've been known to run a long meeting, but some of it wasn't my fault, and I've actually made some changes that saved us a lot of time too, gentlemen. So.
I'm ready.
Yeah, those that you don't come to.
If I might,
Yes.
we kind of breezed past the noise ordinances.
Yes, we did.
I think they're very complicated, and I look forward to a full presentation on second reading.
Yeah, I shared some feedback as well. I think we're heading in a good direction, so. All right, 10A, Animal Control Board, we're looking for one appointment of a citizen to serve an unexpired term that will expire September 13th, 2023. There's one vacancy on the Animal Control Board. Do we have any nominations from the City Commission? I don't have a list of names here. I assume they're in the agenda.
I'd like to make a nomination, if I may.
Sure.
Leslie Sachs. And I will abstain from the vote.
Okay. We have one nomination.
Dana Hoffman.
Another nomination. Dana Hoffman. We have Sachs and Hoffman. Any nominations, Commissioner Colodi?
No.
Okay, with that, we'll take votes. City Attorney, are we okay with the nomination but abstaining from the vote?
It's not really a conflict.
Yeah.
So
It's kind
you
of
can,
not, so,
yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
For the record, just mark one of those two names only, please. Forgot to say.
It was a unanimous vote for Dana Hoffman.
Okay. Dana Hoffman's appointed to the Animal Control Board. Jake's back. Okay, item 10B, and that'll be through September 13th, 2023. 10B, Police Pension Board, consider the approval of an appointment of employee to serve an unexpired term set to expire October 1st, 2022, so very short term. I guess this is because Lieutenant Severance thinks he's gonna retire, I guess. Is that the, how dare he? All right, well, I guess if we can't stop him by emergency ordinance, he's going to retire August 1st, 2022. So I think we're looking for a motion to the members of the police department, there was a nomination by the members of the department selected Sergeant Claudio to serve the remaining term. So do we have a motion to accept that appointment as well as approve extending that appointment to October 1st, 2024, since it's so close to the time end?
I'll make that motion, but also want to, for the record, make a note that Officer Jason Reeve is now a captain and no longer a sergeant, so.
Okay. And-
Second.
And Captain Kirk we have too. Did you have a comment?
No.
Or you were just seconding, okay.
I think the vice mayor
You
did.
did, yeah. I'd heard you earlier. So, okay, so we had a motion, we had a second, and that is to select Sergeant Claudio and extend him the term to October 1st, 2024. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll on that, please.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and again, thanks to Lieutenant Severance. 6 terms he served, and certainly served the police department for many, many years, so. All right, Mayor and Commission reports. Commissioner Colodi, remember you said you weren't going to talk about something. I don't remember what it was, but just please don't talk about it again.
No comments.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was pleased to see our Representative Tom Leake had brought forward a House bill that had to do with special event zones. I think our city could and should adopt those, considering we are a tourist mecca now officially. We have been for quite some time, really. But I do have one fear, and staff was one step ahead of me, thankfully. When I brought it up, you guys were already on top of it. I hope we can bring some type of legislation like that to our city. My fear is always that ACLU, are we taking away people's rights unfairly? But at the same time, yes, the mayor was, you know, I did not agree with when we had a curfew for the youngsters, but we do need to create some order in this city. And you know, if we have one of those pop-up events again where honestly, the revelers outnumber our police force who do their best. But I got an email from a lady, and I believe just about every word she said. They taunt even the police, these revelers, and reveler is a nice word for what they've been doing. So I'd like to see that move forward. The barrier island is besieged, as I know, the 44 corridor, and everybody's kind of trapped sometimes on the weekends, but there's folks on the island that are afraid. They're frightened to leave their homes. The traffic, the parking, all those issues. That's one reason I think a lot of people on Saxon would like to see a lower speed, because, you know, when the beach comes up, everybody goes running around scrambling for spots and acting and behaving like maniacs, and I hate to even call people that, but they honestly do. They have no regard for law. So if we can ramp that up and still be a welcoming place, and you know, we do. We like to share our beach, but at the same time, it's nice to have lawful people there. So thanks, staff. If we can continue that and get support from my colleagues, that's important. I just had one other thing to share. The Hyatt property, you know, their hotels take a long time to build, but meanwhile, we look at blight. So it's the first thing that people see when they come across the South Causeway is on their right-hand side, they see this large tract behind the Dunkin' Donuts that's really in disrepair. I mean, how long are we going to give them time to at least bring a bush hog in there and mow it down and clean that up, because it's getting pretty filthy over there. So those are my comments. I actually have one more thing. You know, we do try through, I think, 2 different programs. The UC gives away free trees, and I think the city does on Audubon Day.
Arbor Day.
Thank you. Arbor Day. So that's a really nice thing, and a lot of people come and they get trees. But I wonder, is the city doing anything proactively to replace and increase the amount of trees in our city's public space so that we don't, God forbid, eventually become a heat island where there are no tree canopies to protect from the heat and the moisture to dissipate and go away? Again, I'm proclaiming the value of trees. So if the city could have a program like that to put more in areas that are open space, that would be wonderful. But not trees that get knocked down and make our vice mayor nervous.
All right.
That's all I have.
To build on that real quick, the special event zone shade, I was familiar with the legislation, but my understanding, I thought, was that we could just designate, like, that was as events came up.
Correct.
We don't have to have a legislate, we can just tap into that state level and say, we've designated this area special event zone because
Correct,
of an
the city
impending.
manager would designate it, then the signs would go up, and
Yeah.
then the laws would be enforced, which results in double fines
Yeah.
and enhanced noise and towing vehicles.
So I think, good news, we're ready to go. Like, there's no further action needed, and if we have some pop-up event or even like a spring break type event like we had, city manager can go ahead and do that, working with other agencies, and then all of those enhanced things that were part of that would be in place. And that's thanks to, I mean, our police and our staff, city attorney's office and others helped support when those meetings first started. Khaled and I, with Chief Coffin, were at a meeting up in Daytona where we supported that legislation and came up with that idea actually to run up the flagpole to the state and get that passed. So,
All right, good job.
So I think we're
appreciate
set
that.
to go. This past weekend, I got some emails you all may have as well. Why weren't we listed as part of one of the places for the truck event? And that's because that event really was centered in Daytona and South Daytona, and the notion was if they don't show up there, we were only getting overflow. If it became a problem, we certainly would have flagged it and been okay. But I think the notion was if they don't show up there, they're not. We may get 1 or 2, but we can handle 1 or 2, so.
Okay. Thank you for your consideration.
Vice Mayor, no comments. Commissioner Hartman.
I have a couple, and they deal with the intersection of Flagler and Peninsula. Gentlemen, we have a building over there that's sitting empty. We kind of gave some direction. Apparently, staff hasn't come back to us, we have no intention on moving any departments out there or utilizing that building for in-house. So I would like for us to kind of have a plan going forward on what are we going to do with that building. You know, it's sitting there empty. I'm afraid that, you know, it's going to start having some deterioration issues or something like that. So we really need to have a plan going forward rather than just letting it sit there, or if that's truly what you want to do, we'll just let it sit there. I think there should be a plan going forward. The other is, there was a public workshop to deal with the intersection improvements and changes. There were a lot of good ideas and thoughts that came from the public out of that. Making the pedestrian all move at the same time. You know, I drive that area every Sundays, and a lot of the traffic issues are, in fact, the pedestrians who don't pay attention to that and are just, you know, walking whatever they want to do. There was also some ideas about changing the timing of the light so they kind of coincide with the bridge opening and closing. So I don't think those are really big cost issues. And in fact, the consultant liked some of those ideas. I don't know where we are with that. Are we going to move forward with that, especially with this summer coming up, 4th of July, the bridge being closed for a week? You know, some of those things maybe it's just a timing or a programming issue that we can push forward and move on ahead forward with that. So what are we going to do with the building? You want to put it on the next workshop and kick it down and do something with it, or otherwise I'll just keep bringing it up?
Let's sell it before the market goes down.
You have about 2 months.
I'm about to say, if we do it now, we might, it's cooling. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember. Felt like it was, I mean, staff, it's the easiest thing in the world to add to an agenda, which they've done a few times. And I think we then all, you know, patter around and then punt it back to staff. So I think where I left it last time was, give me a proposal of like how you would use it, what departments would use it, and tell me if that makes a lot of sense. We can do that even in an interim, or could we lease it? You know, because I'm with you. If it's just going to sit there, and it likely will for another year or two before we do anything, even if we do intersection changes.
Right.
So that's where I thought we were, was that staff was kind of working on some of those proposals, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
Just on that subject, I believe the results of our public hearing were the consultant is supposed to come back to us with some updates on the plans. As to the building itself, if we find out that we can do our improvements there, if we decide to go ahead, I think we should sell that building, put it back into private hands. That's what I wanted all along. I've also been approached by the person who's renting the little shop next to it that's going to turn into La Fiesta. He wants to rent those parking spaces, but apparently our rental plan doesn't allow that at this time.
Thank you for sharing. I'll have to tell him that.
Well, I'd throw my 2 cents in, but it would be indicative of why we're still figuring out what we want to do with that property.
Because you want to do something totally different.
Sell it.
Listen, I wasn't fortunate enough to attend the meeting. I'm waiting for a staff report on it. I want to do the idea was the intersection improvement. I want to do the intersection improvement, and I love the idea of moving the house somewhere so the city can use it as some kind of facility for a department. What I don't want to do is just have this thing stale over the idea of because we can't really decide or this or that. I think we go forward with the original plan, do an intersection improvement, get that house moved. That's mine. And if we're not going to do that, sell the whole thing again and just put it back. If we're not going to do the intersection improvement, just sell it back.
But let's not wait till the market goes down and then sell it back.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna do that, then let's just hold it until the market comes back. I don't want to lose money on it. So I think your answer you just heard is why, is because we've got 4 different options out of the 4 people that have spoken. So maybe just put them on a table and just call for a vote, you know?
It's on my CM report to talk about it, so.
All right, we'll just wait till we get to that then. Do you have anything else?
No.
Is that it? Okay. Is that it? We made it through everybody, right? Okay. I had just one thing. We had tonight a special presentation. It landed in public participation, which I wasn't comfortable with because I just don't remember in my 4 years of doing this that we'd ever had kind of a special carved out citizen public participation thing. So I wanted to keep that very clean. That's always just, you can come forward, take your 3 minutes, speak to us about anything you would like. I do think, though, we've had a few different times where we've had the Riverside Garden District. We had a resident that came and spoke about the boards and stuff. We've had a few different times when residents do, you know, there's an item that merits a little more conversation. They need more than 3 minutes, kind of like tonight. So, you know, I think we probably should have a process where if someone comes and speaks and then ask the commission or staff, you know, hey, I'd really like to come and make a presentation. To me, that's just public participation. But if I want to show things and give an actual presentation, they can approach the commission. They get, you know, however that works. But we get some kind of a, yes, at least 3 of us want to hear that. And then there's a time limit allotted where we say, okay, we're here, you know, 10 minutes worth or 5 or whatever it is. And then, you know, that lives under the new business administrative items. Because my worry is I don't want to put staff in a position where all of a sudden it's like, well, why did they get to do this and I didn't? Why did that group get to do this and I didn't? So I think to protect our staff and us, and to make sure the citizens are, you know, very clear of how this works and what the process is, I think we should have you know, an agreed upon procedure. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. I just think it needs to be something we've all agreed that's how this would come about. Because otherwise, I think the optics could be poor in certain situations. So that's just a recommendation to staff to look into. You know, I don't even know you need to bring it back to us. Just tell us this is how we think you should handle it, or how we're going to handle it as a staff, and then we'll go from there. So it's just my thought on that, and I wanted to explain why I felt it necessary to move that out tonight from where it was. And with that, that is my only comment tonight, I think. City Manager, your report, please.
Okay. I just want to kind of follow up on 2 of the items that you guys mentioned. The first one is as far as having a standard procedure for the presentation. I will come back, and I think my recommendation would be if somebody comes in and wanted to make a presentation to the commission, for the commission to give staff directions to work with the citizen or with the applicants, and then we could bring it back as an item under presentation. So that's the procedure would be.
Okay.
The AOB, I mean, I was talking to Commissioner Hartman yesterday, and he was saying, we made the recommendation, I don't have an approval from the commission at this point of what to do with the AOB. We have made a recommendation, staff, and that was rejected by the commission. Then at some point, you know, we were talking about having a temporary staff location at that facility. So the question that I have for the commission.
Hang on. You're saying AOB, I think you mean the flag.
I'm talking the 120 flagler, I'm sorry.
Because we also don't know what we're doing with AOB. So but let's not. I've got a
Freudian slip, like Colin basically said, y'all can't make up your minds on anything.
I've got a 5 a.m. flight. Let's not get into AOB.
But 120
please.
flagler, so we made a recommendation, and then we had the city clerk's office, they suggested at one of the meetings that they would like to relocate at that building. So if we're talking about a temporary location, okay, we could do that. If we're looking at a permanent location, I have options for that as well. But I need to get a clear direction. So when I'm going to come back at the next meeting or the meeting after, I'm going to list several options. But I need a clear direction from the commission, a specific option to be selected, and then I could move forward with that. So
Yeah.
as far as the intersection,
hang on, before you move to that, I think that's the way to do it. Just put everything you've heard. Here's option 1, 2, 3. I'm going to call for a motion and a vote, and one of them's going to get the majority. If not, then we'll file that. You can put the date and the time, and the next time it gets brought up, you will say on June 28th, the commission decided they were not going to do anything.
Now,
So I
two
I don't know what
options
tell
to
you.
do that, Mayor. Is one option is I could come back at one of the meetings. The other option that I was actually having it in my mind, we have a workshop on August the 18th. So I was gonna, there is several items that I was gonna have on the agenda. One of them is 120 Flagler. The other one, the AOB side. I mean, the other options that we have. So, but we could bring it before if you want to. I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to bring it,
Well, the workshop, we
next
can't take a
meeting.
vote, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, at least you guys give me a recommendation, I could bring it up to the next meeting.
I almost would rather see
Okay.
it at a vote.
Second meeting in August, we'll bring the options on the 120 Flagler.
Yes,
Mr. Colletti, go
because
ahead.
I think it's important to get the revised plan from the consultant first. So staff can review that and then we can decide.
Okay,
Because we've started down that path already.
gotcha.
But we could discuss it at the workshop.
We can.
And
Yes.
maybe narrow it down to 5 to 3 or something like that. So certainly, we should be able to discuss it openly like then, and then bring it to the next meeting as to the 3 or 5. I mean, we ranked the ARPA money
Yeah.
and, did that, so something along those lines, I think. I mean, that would, to me, like you said, would be a good time for that discussion, because then we could have additional reports or whatever, and bringing it back before then, I think, is way too early.
I guess my only worry with that is what I've seen is you go into the workshop with, you're trying to narrow it from 5 to 3 and you come out with 8. And we're further away from us. We've put more, potential on the table. So I'm just trying to drive to a decision.
And history
keeping it
has
simple.
shown when we agree in a workshop, then we get into a vote,
That
we
is-
change our minds.
That is also true, yeah.
Well,
So-
I support the 18th workshop.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying, just be cognizant of, let's try to come out with a solution. The other thing, just for staff to think about on that is, I think you have to look at, is there a 2-year solution and then a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan? Because again, I think over the next 1 to 2 years, there's probably going to be almost no action. So if you bring me something, you say, look, for basically no cost, we're bursting at the seams here. We can let this department use that space, and all it's the cost of a U-Haul. All right, let's do it. I mean, that's a very low hurdle to do that. And then in 2 years, we look up and we say, all right, now what's the new plan? I'm not, somebody will be. So don't look at it as like the end all be all. Let's look at short term, long term.
We'll do that on second meeting in August. The Barracuda Bridge, as you've seen, I sent you an email on the retaining walls on both sides where one section collapsed before we even started construction. And I guess Monday morning quarterbacking, they should have really looked at the retaining walls and designed them with the bridge. So we approached DOT through our consultant, and I had a meeting with DOT last Thursday, and I brought the item up to them. And I met the new secretary yesterday at the VCART. So this morning there was an email, DOT is going to design the retaining walls.
Good.
You're looking at a cost, their projected cost is about 1.2 million. So they're gonna do the design, and they are looking for funding to support that. So that's a step forward there, and I think it's a positive sign. I also mentioned to the secretary yesterday about the sign, again, the one on 44 west of 95, the electronic sign on the mast arm. And I'm scheduled to, I'm gonna bring him down here to have lunch with him, and we'll follow up with that as well, so. Good. The August 21st, that is the day that we will implement the one-way north on Orange. So there's signs, we posted it on our website, we approached all the businesses. The only one that they have an issue with is Indian River Glass. Apparently their truck comes that way, but they said, we understand that it's a safety issue, so they'll deal with it.
I just happened to go down Orange today, and one of the signs, the one that's right there, kind of across from Pure Fit, you can't see, it's completely faded out. So I knew what the sign said, I could make it out because I was looking for it, but just have somebody double check that, because it looks really, really faded.
We'll do that. And then also, on one of the items under the consent agenda,
Hang on, Colin. What was the date you said that the switch is
June
going
the
to?
21st.
June 21st.
For the one-way?
Yes.
Okay.
That will be,
I think he did say August first time, I thought.
did I, no, I said June.
I think you said August.
You said August?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
June.
Okay, June. Good catch.
June 21st will be a Tuesday. Our sign staff is actually on vacation, so he'll be back Tuesday, and we'll give him some time.
Okay.
The contract for Giabi, that's the one Commissioner Colodi
Not to
had.
exceed.
And I think I'm gonna cap it for this year at 50,000. I mean, we pay as we have service. That's if we need additional funding, because we have a lot of issues with DOT at this point, so.
I was thinking of, I went back and checked the item number. I was thinking that item will help us with the retaining wall thing we were just talking
Well,
about.
I mean, it already did. It's
Yeah,
1.2
100%.
million, and then I got the intersection of 44 and Wallace, and then also the sign. So we got quite a few projects there that we're working with
That
them. so.
contract's that ROI for
But
sure.
I'm gonna cap it at 50,000. We'll have a purchase order for 50,000 for the year.
Is that
Do you
it?
have any questions on the other items?
Any questions for?
Colin,
Go
yes,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor. Colin, would you please provide for me again, if you can't now, I don't expect it now, another progress report on the 7th Street sidewalk?
I have a very recent report. Just when I came to the meeting, I saw our purchasing agent, and actually she's working with the consultant on the bid to advertise out, so.
For
7th
construction.
and South Streets.
Good. Also, the traffic light for Station 50.
It's under construction, and I think I see some barricades out there, so it looks
I
like
did
they're
also.
getting close.
I was hoping that was for that
Yeah, it
project.
is.
Thank you.
It is.
All right, city clerk's report.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, yesterday was the first day of qualifying, and it was also the first time that we followed the new set of rules in our newly adopted charter, and it went wonderfully. We were
Good.
able to turn in all the candidate paperwork by today, actually, which is much different from before. So we have 9 candidates right now. Qualifying week ends on Friday. And additionally, Sharon and I are going to be out Sunday through Wednesday at a conference, so it'll just be Travis in the office.
Okay. So they were able to collect signatures long before now, so they didn't.
They didn't
so
have
it's
to
not
wait
that
since.
mad rush on
Correct.
Friday submitting paperwork, which is less stress for you all and them. Awesome.
A lot of those things that were changed in the charter followed state mandated
Yeah.
rule, which made it much easier on our office.
Good. Glad to hear that. Thank you for supporting them. All you candidates play nicely. City attorney report.
No report.
No, just no. Nope. All right. Thank you, Shay, for filling in for Carrie. We appreciate that she's taking some time off to be with her family. Totally understand that and encourage it. With that, if there's no other business for this board, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.